You and anyone else can make your very own personal VRChat model for free. And I'm going to show you how to make something like this, or this, or this. But it won't be an easy process, and you're going to actually have to work a little bit. But don't worry, I'll take you through the process. So just let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need is the plugin for Blender called Cats. It will help you take 3D assets and prepare them for being used in VRChat. So you're going to go to the link in the description, which will bring you to this page. You're going to go to the top, find the latest version, go down into assets, and click the zip, which will download the file. Note what version of Blender that is for, and now we will go and get said version of Blender. Once you have Steam open, if you do not have Blender already, you go to the store, search Blender, find it right here, click it, it'll take you to this page, you click free, and it'll put it in your library. Once in your library, right click it, go to properties, go to betas, and in beta participation, select the version of Blender that the version of Cats that you installed is made for. I have version 5.0, because that is the version of Cats that I have, and we will click launch. Once it is launched, just going to do a general new file. We don't need anything that is on here, so in the top right, in the scene, we will delete everything. And then to install Cats, you're going to go to Edit, Preferences, Get Extensions, this little arrow over here, Install from Disk, locate where you placed the zip file. For me, it is in the tutorial project. You're going to select it and click Install from Disk. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to do that. And the way you'll know, after it loads and installs it, you'll know that you have it if you go to this little arrow up here. You click on this. And over here, you will see the Cats tab, which will bring up all of this. Now you have Cats installed. Now, onto the model making. You're going to need 3D assets. Because I'm not a 3D model creator, I am not an artist. Luckily for us, there are people on the internet who make 3D models and allow other people to download and use them for free. Now, the most important thing that you keep in mind is to read the terms and usages that the artist put out for said model that you will be downloading. Some don't care what you do with it as long as you don't make money off of their work. Some specifically, there are those that do not want their models used for VRChat content or anything of that sort. Please respect that. Artists give their all when they make stuff, and if they don't want their things used for specific things, please abide by it. Now, with that in mind, there are many places on the internet that you can go and get models. What we're going to need for this tutorial is a body, a head, hair, and clothes. We'll be going over each part first, and the first thing is a body. If you want to go find your own body to follow along in the tutorial, go and do so. If not, the link to the body I will be using is in the description, and if you want to follow along piece by piece with the same things that I'll be using in this tutorial. So you're going to need a body. What you're going to do is you're going to go into Cats, you're going to click Import Model. You're going to find wherever it is that you unzipped the body that you downloaded, like this, and it'll look a little gray, a little smooth. If you hold the Z button and go into Material Preview, you should see the texture. Now, currently, my model is a little broken, and the texture is also broken. That is due to the fact that it is a model, it's an MMD model. So we're going to go here in the MMD options, and we're going to click Fix MMD Model. This function is only for models not set up for Unity. Do not use on Booth or Gumroad models, it'll break them. Make sure you always import using Cats. Click OK. And now you can see my model is fixed. A lot of the bones that were sticking out aren't there anymore, but we're going to go down to here to data, where it looks like the little running man. We're going to go to viewport display and click in front, which will show the bones in front of the model here. Now, quick note, holding the middle mouse button will rotate your camera. Holding shift and the middle mouse button will pan it. It'll help you, if you do not know Blender, get around. As you can see, there are some little bones inside of my other bones, which we don't want. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the bones and select the armature here. We're going to go into edit mode, and we are going to click this little button up here, which applies changes to the opposite x-axis. So what that means is if we select this bone, click delete bone, it'll delete the bone on the other side that mirrors it. So we're going to do that to this one. Also deleted that. There's an extra bone on the hand. We're going to delete that. It did not delete this one, so always make sure to double check. Things might not work as intended for one reason or another, so always make sure to check. Now we have all our bones that we need, 3 for each finger, hand, 2 for each arm, 2 for each leg, 1 for the foot, 1 for the toes, shoulders, neck, and head. And that is your body, already set up for putting the head on top. Onto the head. Going to do the same thing, go into quick access in the cats menu, click import, find where you placed the head, and import it. Now before we do anything, we're going to make sure we have the head selected, because in this instance it is an MMD model, so I'm going to fix it again. You've gotten an error. Models made for different things will have different forms of structure. People who make models will do them in different ways, and it might end up breaking certain things. You're going to have to sometimes find the workarounds that'll help you get to where you need to go. In this instance, all I need to do to fix this error is delete this and then do it again. We're going to now position the head where we want it on the body. I'm going to click move. We're going to make sure we have the armature selected and not just the head selected, because if we just select the head and move it, it'll only move the skin and not the bones underneath it. So we have to make sure we select the armature. And now the arrows are down here, which makes it a little hard to move precisely. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click, set origin to geometry. And now the arrows are where the head is. So you'll notice that the skin on the head is a little bit lighter than the skin on the body. So I'm going to now show you a very quick way on how to change the skin tone on models very easily. What I use is a in-browser website, a free-to-use browser website called Poiomi. It is basically Photoshop. We are going to find where your texture for your face is. For me, it's right here. What you're going to do is you're going to select the magic wand tool. You're going to left click. We want to change all the skin here that you can see. And so I'm just going to hold left click, and I'm going to slightly move my mouse to the right until all the skin is selected. I selected a little bit too much here. That looks good. I've got a little bit of the eyeball, so I'm going to hold Alt and left click and drag, and it's going to deselect things. There we go. I have everything I want selected, so I'm going to go into the paint bucket tool. I'm going to create a new layer down here. So we have a new layer. You can select a one. You can go for a browner color or a little bit red right here. Click fill where you in the area you selected, and it'll look really bad. However, if you go into the opacity and you move it down, if you put it down to 0, that's what it looks like normally. But if you slowly increase the opacity, the skin getting a little darker. We'll put it at 30%. Hit Control D to deselect. File, export, PNG. Save it as whatever you want. You want to test your new texture to see if it fits the body a little bit better. You can select the head here. Then this material button will appear. Click on that. And now if you notice here, there are plenty of these are our materials, and there's a lot of them, even though everything should be using the same material. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into optimization, material optimization, combine same materials. Now we only have 3. So we're going to click on blush, which is now essentially the head's texture. So you could rename that to head if you want to make it easier to understand. I'm going to move down to principled. It is just a good texture to test textures with. You go to image texture, open, find the texture you made. And now you can see my head is a little bit darker than it was before. You can obviously play with it until you find the right balance, but for the purpose of this, we're just going to continue onwards. You have a head on your body. Now, you might notice that the neck's not really connected properly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I notice that the head's a little too small. So I'm going to click the scale button over here. I'm going to make sure I select the armature so it also moves the bones. I'm just going to slightly adjust it a little bit easier, but the neck at the base is still a little too thick. Also, in order for me to be able to see the bones for the head, I'm going to then put them in front like I did the body. We are then going to go into object mode and select the body. I'm going to go into edit mode because I want the neck on the body to be a little bit smaller so that it fits closer to the head. So if you want to select multiple vertices, that's what these little dots are. If you move them around, it'll change the model. So what we're going to do is we're going to want to select the neck. However, you can see that I didn't select the back here, so I could shift click and hold again, hold shift while I click and select more. But instead, the easier way to do that is if you hold Z, go into wireframe, and do the same click and drag. It'll select everything instead of just the front. So we're going to go back into material so I can see better. I'm going to click scale. I'm going to just scale all of these vertices down a little bit. Just a little bit. Make it slightly smaller. And then I'm going to click here, control click. When you control left click, it'll, after selecting a vertex and then selecting another one, it'll create a line between the two. So I'm going to also then click, I'm going to try and make it so that it selects this entire ring here. I'm going to close that a little bit. Now, you might need to do a little bit of shaping in order to get two models from different places to line up. But I think for me, that is perfectly fine. We have, notice how this part of the neck here is broken. So depending on where you get your models, some vertices might overlap but not be connecting to each other. What I mean by that is this one, this little dot and this dot were in the same place, but not connected for some reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one, and then I'm going to select this one. I'm going to right click. I'm going to click merge. Merge it last, which will take the two and merge them together at the last one that I selected, which is this white one. And now the neck's connected and I don't have to worry about that. And that is relevant to what we are now going to do with the head. So we obviously don't need a neck inside of a neck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the head. I'm going to go into edit mode, hover over the back of the head here and press L. L will select, when pressing L, you will select the entirety of a section of vertices that are connected to each other. So I can select the eyebrow, the front of the ear and the back of the ear are different for this model in particular. So I've selected the neck. If you can't if the model you're using has everything connected, and you need to delete the neck because you have two and you delete the one on the inside, you might have to select each, make sure you select the vertices you want to delete by hand, but using control, it might help you speed that up. But I'm going to just click delete vertices. And now I have a floating head to the neck. Now, obviously, what I could do, if I wanted to do the least amount of work possible, what I could do is move the head sort of into the neck here, like this. And I could just leave it like that. If we were to go over here on the left in cats, there's a quick access to pose mode. What pose mode would do is it allows you to select bones and turn them and tilt them and whatnot. So now, obviously, if you tilt your head up a little bit, it'll look fine, right? If you're looking straight and you look up, it'll look fine. But if you start looking a little too high, there'll be this giant empty gap because your head and your body aren't connected. So, but before we connect them, we're going to connect the head and its bones to the body and the bones. So how we're going to do that is we are going to go into custom model creation in our cats menu. We're going to make sure the base is our body, which is armature, and we're going to take our head's armature and select it in the to merge part. We're going to merge all bones, apply transformations, basically have all of these selected. And we are going to click merge armatures. Now, the head and the neck, as you can see, we had 2 neck bones and 2 head bones, but now they've become one. One thing I did forget to do is I'm going to move my head slightly back to where I had it before, because I am going to do things the hard way. So I'm going to remerge them. Head placed where I want it to be. But if I were to go into pose mode, if I move the neck, right, it moves the head and the neck together. But if I move just the head, the neck doesn't, there's this giant space and gap in between. So how we're going to fix that is we are now going to select our combined mesh of our head and our body. We're going to go into edit mode. And then, just like we did with those 2 on the back, what we're going to do is we're going to connect the vertices of the neck to the vertices on the head. Connect the 2 together. You're going to select a vertice on the neck and a vertice here on the face, and you're going to merge them together. So how you do that, just like we did before, except we're going to do merge at center here, and then I'll do it like that. Then we do this one. I'm going to select this one, merge at center, this one, drop the shift click, merge at center. And we're going to do that all the way around until our face and our neck are connected. Some quick little points to note. There were times where I had to choose 3 vertices and connect them together because some points on the head or neck had more points closer together than the other. Also, there were times where I also had to move it a little tiny bit because when I merged them together, it created like an indent in the bottom of the head. So I just moved the new merged point down a little bit and made it so that everything was a little bit smoother. But other than that, the process should be fairly easy. Now, once you're done with that to test, you can go into pose mode, click on the head, and tilt up. And as you can see, the neck stretches and is now no longer any empty space. And if you're worried about the giant space behind my head, we're going to cover that with the hair, which is the next step. For the hair, we do the exact same thing. Import, find where you have the hair, import it. We're going to have to fix it. So make sure we have it selected. Click fix. This is just an error noting that it doesn't have body bones, which is perfectly fine. Select the armature, set origin to geometry. We're going to move the hair down onto the head. back a little bit. And that looks pretty good. Now, if you look here, you'll notice that there's some empty space between the hair and the head. No one will ever see that. You do not have to do what we did with the head and the neck. If you want to, you can. But as you will see in a moment, you do not have to. So we're going to, now that our hair is in place, we're going to go to custom model creation, merge armatures, everything selected, make sure we are merging the hair onto the body, click merge, and now we have everything set in place. But if you go into pose mode and you select the head, it should move the hair and the head together as you tilt up. Tilt the head up, you'll see the neck. You know it won't ever see those empty spaces. If you turn the head down, even then it's hard to see. That's why there's no point in connecting everything. It will look fine without you having to do that very tedious extra step. So now we got to move on to the clothes. All right, so now we will be adding in the clothes. Some clothes might come as a full outfit. You might only need to import one thing and it'll have the shirt, the pants, and the shoes. For me, I have all three separate. So first I'm going to do the shoes. Click import and insert my sneakers, which are here. We're going to now fix it, fix model. Make sure our sneakers are selected. Then we're going to do something slightly different. We are going to uncheck join meshes, but keep all the other checks selected. And we're going to click merge armatures. If I select the shoes, it'll only select the mesh for those. We're going to go into edit. Now I want to select the entirety of the shoe. So I'm going to go into wireframe, select the whole right shoe. I'm going to go back into material preview so I can see it properly. And we're going to move the shoe. I'm going to make sure I have everything selected. By pressing A on your keyboard, it will select everything. So I'm going to actually just scale them up together so that they're the same size. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than my feet so they're easier to maneuver and fit everything inside of them. As you can see, there we go. That shoe is on correctly. So now we're going to go back in wireframe, select this boot, back into material. And now we're going to move this shoe on that foot. The pants. So these are the pants. Gonna have to fix them. Then we're going to connect to object mode, select these and scale. Pants are a little big. They don't have to be perfect. We're going to do the actual moving of the modeling the pants onto the body properly. I'm just trying to get them the right height at the moment. As you can see here, looks okay. We are going to, again, merge the armatures, but not the meshes. So we're going to, and then what we're going to do is we're going to sculpt the pants so that they fit the body. And we're going to be probably also doing this with the top. So we're going to click on the mesh here. We're going to go into sculpt mode. Now, this looks a little confusing with everything on the screen, but there's only one tool you really need. So the one tool that is the most useful for this situation is the elastic grab. So you're going to select that, and up here you can see size and strength. So size will determine the area that you grab, and say I grab here and pull. You see I'm pulling a section of the pants over. So what you're going to do is I'm not going to have this. I'm going to leave it at about there. We're going to click the enable mesh symmetry in the x-axis. This is important because as I pull on this side, it'll also pull the opposite side, as you can see. So now we're just going to grab different places, and you want to try and cover your skin with the pants, slowly and surely. Pants. They work, they're there, and they fit. Now that they're fitted on, let's get the shirt on. To select, fix, I'm going to scale it all up a little bit. We're going to then move it up. The pose is also slightly off. So what we're going to do is we're going to go click on the armature. We're going to edit it. I'm going to just I see. The shirt's broken in that sometimes when you import things and you do stuff, the bones won't actually have any, we call it weight painting on them. So right now my shirt, if I move the bones that are attached to the shirt, nothing will happen because they're not actually attached to the shirt. So because the bones aren't connected to the jacket itself, we can actually just delete the armature of the shirt. So what we're going to do is we're going to set origin to geometry. Now normally you could also just decide to get something else that does have working bones, but we're not going to do that. Instead, scale the shirt up a little bit. If we put it where I want it. A bit wider. And that should be good for us to go into sculpt. Now, if you wanted to change the shape of your body a little bit, you could. We did spend the time covering the body. However, it doesn't matter if some of the body is actually sticking out like that due to the next thing we are going to do, which is optimize your model. So in VRChat, the more triangles you have, the heavier your model. And so you want to generally put down on as much as that as possible. And right now, underneath all these clothes, we have a lot of skin that isn't ever going to be seen. And the only ever time it will ever be seen is if it clips through your clothes. So we're going to delete all of the body that you can't see. Before we do that though, go back into object mode and we are going to put this mesh that we have of the shirt in the armature, in our bone structure here. So now we just got to put the shirt inside our armature here. So we're going to click on the shirt. We're going to shift left click on the bones and right click, go to parent, empty groups. We now have our armature with our various, we have our body, we have our shoes, our pants, and we have our shirt. Before we do anything, is delete all of the body that isn't visible. Now I suggest you save your project before doing this, in case you want to go back and change things. But we are going to go into edit mode. We are going to go into wireframe, and anywhere you didn't see any clothes, so I'm basically everywhere that isn't my hands or my neck, I am going to get rid of. So I'm just going to select, I'm going to shift click all of this. I'm just going to select everything here. A little bit more on the arms, a little bit more down here. This will also make the next part, deleting as much as you possibly can will help us out in the next section tremendously. Now your model is ready to be weight painted. Now we're going to move on to weight painting. In the drop-down menu, make sure you have object mode selected. Select the bones. Shift, left click the body. Go back into the drop-down menu and select weight paint. We'll then move down. Hold Alt and then left click on your toe bone. Yours should look like this or something similar, or it might not have any weight painting on it at all. In the top here, what I like to do before I start is turn on show weight contours. It will create these lines to help me visualize the levels at which a section is weight painted. So now to explain a little bit more about weight painting, you'll see that this section is red and then it goes into dark blue. The red section will move 1 to 1 with the bone, and as we get into the lighter and bluer colors, this bone will have less and less effect on the mesh. So if we go into pose mode and I move the bone here, you will see how those colors represent the movement here on the foot. Now to paint your model, you'll select the brush tool in weight paint mode, and by left clicking, you will paint the model. Now, if you see, I go into pose mode here. Now that I've painted over there, that part of the shoe will move as well. Let's go back and delete. So the way you use the brush tool is, like I said, you can left click to paint. If you hold Control and left click, it will delete. And if you hold Shift and left click, it'll blur it, sort of smooth things out as best it can. So if I show you here on the foot, it'll show you smoothing it out just a little bit around it. I have already finished the weight painting, and so I will go from bone to bone to show you what mine currently look like. Now this will not be perfect, and your model will also not be perfect if this is your first or even 10th time doing this. This is a long and tedious process, but it is required. Things may not be perfect, and you will have to accept that, but our goal here is to make things look as good as possible. So I will quickly go over the legs. Here we have the toes, the foot. We have the shins. We have the upper part of the leg. Which, as you can see in pose mode, when bending up, have it. So you can check at any point in time, you can go into pose mode and check your bones to see if they work properly. As you can see here, my knee is pretty good. It might have some weird contortions in certain angles, but for the most part, it looks pretty good. Then we go back into weight paint. We have the hips. We have the chest and the upper chest. Got the shoulders. I'll show you. Now, like I said, things won't be perfect. So here in the upper chest, if I bend really far forward, you'll see that it starts to clip into the pants. Now, one thing I could do is go into the mesh and delete that section of the pants because you can't see it and it will fix the clipping issue, or I could do some more weight painting. But for the purpose of this, I am happy where it is. After all, for the most part in VRChat, your model won't fold much over like that, so that clipping will be very rarely seen. Another thing to note is the hip bone here is the root of all of my other bones. So if I were to try to test the weight painting and move it around, it's going to move the whole model. So there's no way for me to test it. However, for the most part, I know what the hips would normally look like. Once in VR, this should be fine. We will see when it comes to that. Here's the arm and the forearm and the hand and the thumb. I'll actually add a bit more here to the thumb. Use my shift click to smooth it out a little bit. And then we go down the fingers. Again, these aren't perfect, and I could probably spend a lot more time doing this, but at the very least, as you can see here, bend that in, bend that in, bend that. You can see the finger looks pretty good. Then, going to go, there's the neck, the head, and then all of the hairs are different. The hair does not matter to me in this case of this tutorial, but you can see if I were to move my neck here, there's a little bit of clipping on the collar there, but no one will ever really notice that. It does not matter to me. The head. And there we go. I did notice that on my right hand, the wrists and the hand are not connected to each other. So you can see that there's that empty space that was the same for the head and the neck from earlier. So what I would need to quickly do is go in here, go into edit mode, and I think the break was right here. So if I moved a vertice out of the way, so if I move this down, you can see that there was another vertice in the exact same spot that it was before. So I'd have to shift click it, merge it last, and do that all the way around the wrist. Right? That is something you can do if you want. Since this is just a tutorial video, I'm not going to bother because we're just going to move on. If you can get your model into a state that you are happy with while going through pose mode and moving your arms and legs around, then you are finished with the Blender step. You will go into File, Export, FBX, name as Tutorial FBX, click Export, and now we will go into Unity and prepare the model to upload into VRChat. On this website, you will learn about the Creator Companion. What it is an application that will help you manage your VRChat projects in Unity. So you will go down to the download section, click on this link, we'll download the exe directly. We'll then launch it and follow the instructions to install the companion. Once the companion is installed, you'll open it. If you do not have any version of Unity installed, the companion will tell you how to download and obtain a free version of Unity to use in your projects. Once you have Unity installed, we will come back to the Creator companion and we will click Create New Project. We'll click on Avatar, create our name for tutorial. We will then create project. Once here, we will then go to Open Project. This will take some time, but eventually your project will open. Now we are in Unity. First thing we're going to do is go into our hierarchy over here on the left, and we're going to delete the camera. Then you will locate where you saved your FBX and drag it into the assets down in the bottom. Once it's in here, you will select it, go over into your inspector on the right, switch generic to humanoid, then click apply. We will go and click configure. This looks scary, I know, but all we need to do is pay attention to this on the right. If everything is green, then you are good to go. If you see here, my chest and upper chest don't have any bones assigned to them. Now, my character only had a hips, a spine, and an upper chest bone. So, I have my hips, my spine, and my chest, which is over here, was not assigned to any of the slots. So I'm going to select my chest and drag it into the chest. Now, my model did not have an upper chest bone, which is perfectly fine. That will not break anything. So I will click apply. And now everything should be fine. So we're going to click done. Then we are going to drag our character onto the scene here. And for ease of access, I'm going to make his position 0, 0, so that he's in the center of the project. And we're going to now zoom in on him. Now in Unity, to move around, to pan the camera is simply middle mouse button, and right click is to rotate the camera. We're going to center my camera on my guy here. And now you can see that he is currently white with no textures. We're going to fix that. We're going to go into our assets. We're going to right click, create folder. I'm going to name it materials. I will then go and find all of the textures for my boots, pants, shirt, body, face, and hair, and place them within the materials folder. With all of my texture files dragged and dropped into my materials folder, I'm going to right click, create material. Now, there are many of different kinds of shaders out there on the internet for you to download for you to determine what kind of look you want your character to have. Personally, I use a shader called Poiomi. The link to where to download Poiomi will be in the description. Once you download the Unity package, you can click, drag, and drop it into Unity. In Unity, this will pop up. I will simply click import. Now with Poiomi installed, I can go into the shader here. I'll have Poiomi. I'll go Poiomi tune. It'll take a little bit of floating for the first time. I will go into color and normals. I'll take my body texture and I'll place it in the texture slot. I also forgot to name my material because I am so good at this. We're going to pretend that's an O and not a P. And I will drag this onto my hands. And now you can see I have a bit of color. I'll now do that for each of the textures. Now, with all my new materials, I'm simply going to drag all of these on to my model. So now, with all of the textures on my model, you can see that it looks fine, as it did in Blender. If you ever wanted to optimize a model, you could try in the Blender process, make all of these one material, but for the purpose of this video, we're just going to leave things as is and not get into any complicated things. So from here, we have our model looking fine, but now we still need to make it ready for VRChat. So we're going to go over here in our hierarchy, and we're going to select the model. We're then going to go into our inspector, and we are going to add a component. If you search up VRC avatar descriptor, after adding the descriptor, we're going to go into lip sync. If you want your model's mouth to move while you talk, there are different ways that different heads do it. Some use bones. This one in particular will use Visine blend shape. What this means is when you make these various sounds like C or P or F, F D, or A, E, A, O, U, when you make those different sounds and VRChat detects it, it will make the face that I select here from this dropdown. As someone who has used these before, I know that if I click on the body here, go down to blend shapes, you will see all of these. These are all the blend shapes that are on this model. It came with the head. Now if I move this unit down here, you'll notice that the mouth opens. This one has the teeth open, purses his lips, opens his mouth, in various different ways. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back here, and for all of these, we're going to select the shapes that we want our mouth to go. So from this icon to this icon, for myself, with the model that I am using, I will be selecting these for the various visemes here. Now, once you go through your mesh and figure out all of what the symbols do and what visemes you want in which section, once we have our lip sync finished, we can go into iLook. Now, I generally leave this disabled for the models that I've used. These do not, the bone transformations don't work. However, if you go down here into eyelids for eyelid type, and I go blend shapes, eyelids mesh, I select my body and I move that over. I go into blend ship states, place your body. But if we go down into eyelids and you place your body skinned mesh from here and drag it into your eyelid mesh, you go down into blend shapes, you can have blink, which in this case I have. There's also look up and down, which unfortunately there is no blend shape for those. So I only have the blink blend shape, so I'll leave it at that. That is all for iLook. In playable layers, we'll just have everything to default for today. Normally this is where you would go if you want to set up your own personal menu with toggles, expressions, and the like, but today we are not going to be worrying about that at all. So we don't need to do anything in here. In expressions, again, don't need to do anything here. We are not doing expressions for this video. So the last thing we do before your model is complete is we have to change the viewpoint or the view position. This little white dot is where you will see out of. So we are going to click edit and we are going to move this dot in between the eyes. Not in the face, just right in front of it. We're going to put it there. Return. And now we are going to select this avatar in your control panel, which you will have this. You're going to sign into your account. Once signed in, you will go into Builder. And in here, you can prepare to upload your model. We have our selected avatar. We're going to enter the name. Tutorial Man. can give some tags or warnings for your thing, but I assume this is going to want to be private, so none of this matters. Want to make sure that's private. If you have an image you want as the thumbnail for your character, you can put it here. If not, you can simply click capture in scene. You can fill in the background any color you want. Do this. Sure. And we click capture. Just a test guy. We're going to click autofix. 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 As you can see, our overall performance is medium because we have a lot of materials, which is more than recommended, but for now, this is fine. And we are simply going to build and publish. Now the upload has finished, and we can head onto the VRChat website, and I can see that my avatar is there and uploaded. Only to go into VR and test it out. Hi, here we are in VRChat. As you can see, my mouth moves, my eyes will be blinking, and I can move around. Now, the model isn't perfect. In fact, there are quite a few things I would fix before taking this into VR, into roleplay or whatever. All those things can be set up to tearing. Quite a lot of spots on these models, the vertices aren't connected. And even in pose mode in Blender, I wasn't able to see it until coming into VR. But there's a little bit in the shoulders on the upper part here. But for the most part, everything is moving pretty good, at least on the right side. The left side, for some reason, is pretty bad. So I would have to go back into Blender, and I would have to connect all these disconnected parts by merging, like we did, between the neck and the head. And other than that, it's pretty fine. The body moves pretty well. The legs move really well. Everything moves great. And that's really all I can ask for. At the very least, at my skill level, this is what I can do. Now, obviously, we don't have flowy hair or toggles for expressions and that. That will be in another video that I could make in the future if people end up wanting that. But for now, this is all the knowledge I have to impart to people who just want to learn how to start making their own models in VRChat. If there are people out there who have any corrections, tips, or tricks on the things that I talked about and they want to share that knowledge, feel free to leave a comment. Please do. I barely know what I'm doing, and having people who actually know what they're doing display some of their knowledge would be very helpful. So please, if you have something to say, please write a comment for it. And to those aspiring model makers who are following this and going to go and try to make their first ever model, I want to see it. I want to see what people make. If you want to show it off and show me, I have a Discord where you can post VRChat pictures of like you and your model in like cool maps and cool like aura farming positions. It'd be really cool to see. So if you want, you can join my Discord. Links in the description. And with that being said, I think that's it. I hope you all learned something. I hope this helped a couple people be able to start making their own stuff. And with that being said, I'm gonna go make more stuff. With all that being said, have a good day and good luck making your models. You're gonna need it. Just not. This happens a lot. This happens a fucking lot. Goddamn.